So, welcome to the Animal Communication End of Life and Holistic Healing Conference. I'm Dr. Jeff Grognet, and with me is Tammy Billups. And Tammy is a global pioneer and educator in the Animal Human Sacred Soul Partnership, a certified interface therapist, author, and holistic intuitive healer for animals and humans. Moreover, she's the inventor of the paradigm shifting soul healing option tandem healing sessions, which accelerate the healing of humans and their animals with whom they share a soul bond. She has 25 years of research and experience, and she's committed to raising awareness to the higher purpose held with every animal human relationship. Tammy is the author of several award-winning books, including Animal Soul Contracts and Animal Way Showers. Her newest book, Your Animal, Your Soul Mirror, Healing the Emotional Wounds of Animals, Their People, reveals never-before research that can bring about unprecedented transformation for animal lovers and their companions. This is going to be a fun session, so welcome, Tammy.
Thank you so much, Dr. Jeff.
Okay. So you've got these, I'll call them intuitive healing sessions that you're doing, and the key is you're doing with people, for people and their animals. So how did you get into this? Let's just explore that for a second.
Yeah, so I actually went through training on how to help people heal their energetic wounds through cleansing and purifying the energetic body. And it was a long, 4 year certification. And I would say probably in the first year of learning more about how energy shows up, where there's congestion, and what that means for how it relates to certain ailments or behaviors that the person may have, I thought, well, I wonder if this stuff works on animals. and and so I started asking my friends, can I just try to do a session on your animal and see what happens here? And they just blew me away. It was profound. A horse who was lame in one leg was running after 2 sessions. And I mean, different things that I just was witnessing and thought, this is amazing. But what was really fascinating to me was that, again, I can see and feel into the energy field, and I would look at the animal, and it was really obvious where they were holding adjusted energy, and in places where I thought, okay, they've got abandonment that's unhealed in their energetic patterns. But then if I panned to their person, guess what? If I tuned into their field, the person would also have unhealed abandonment wound, would be their primary emotional wound that they were healing from. And that's how it works. For magnets. And I was so fascinated by it that I started looking and trying to find information on it, research on it. And I just couldn't, it doesn't mean I'm the only one doing it, but I couldn't find anything tangible to learn from. And so I just started taking notes and doing case studies. And then it just turned out where I started working with people and their animals, because the results were more sustainable when the person said, okay, I'll do that with you. And they were willing to really go there, go to betrayal or invasiveness or some of these wounds that their animal was mirroring for them. Because a lot of times I would work on an animal and they would immediately be better, and then they might revert. And I asked the person, I said, well, can you go along the journey, go along the ride with them? And that's when it shifted forever. And so that kind of became my niche and of working with animals and their people.
Great. Yeah, I mean, there's so much or should I say, so much being talked about in the last little while. All the basics were all there decades ago, but people didn't talk about it much, and we didn't have the internet.
Right, right. So I couldn't just go there and find those kinds of facts that I was looking for. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. But you're looking at I call it the soul and also the transition to spirit.
Yeah.
How does that fit in? How does it impact?
Yeah, so it's interesting because you will know this well. Those of us who get into working with animals, we find out pretty quickly that we're dealing with death a lot. And we may not, we want to help them feel better. We want to help them move forward. But often we need to become masters at helping people and their animals to transition to the light. So what I found is that I started having people ask me early on if I could stay connected energetically to their animals while they were transitioning. Obviously, a pre-planned euthanasia that was set. And boy, oh boy, did I learn a lot through those beautiful sessions. And it's such an honor to witness what happens when an animal goes back to spirit and all that happens at the energetic and the soul level that I was completely unaware of. And I started really taking good notes on all of those things as well. And usually those sessions before, in the weeks before and the months before, as the animals in their final chapter, they can be very profound and really help them to transition more easily.
Yeah. Yeah. Is there anything that's I'll call it common or like when you've been watching this number of animals, there must be some common themes that you see.
Oh my gosh, yes. Let me share those because I think that they could bring a lot of peace to your listeners for this conference. The first thing that I want people to know is that in the weeks up to leading up to the transition, there is a force field of angelic light that is so strong and powerful that comes in around you both. Because as we know, as people, it's a fearful time for us. We don't want to make a mistake. We worry about their suffering. There's all these fears that come up, and fears can call in negative energy and negative experiences. So there's this force field of light that comes in around them. That's the first thing I want people to know. The second thing is that there's this cleansing that I see very consistently. There's a cleansing of the crown chakra at the top of the head. Now the soul leaves through the top of the head, and so when that's clear, it allows an easier transition. When they actually pass, there's actually a feeling of a magnet coming down towards the soul and drawing the soul up. I just got chills again because of those moments that I've witnessed that. It kind of draws the soul up and out of the body. It's really interesting. And then there's also these relationship energetic cords between people and their animals that remain forever intact. The healthy ones do, tethered to that animal. That's why you're calling them in afterwards and you're seeing those little signs. But that cord between your hearts, I see it often getting cleansed and purified, and so that you'll have clarity around making decisions on their behalf, so that you'll be able to make a decision from your adult soul self, that higher wise part of yourself, versus the fearful, usually inner child who doesn't want them to leave and doesn't want them to suffer. And this next point that I want to share is something that I started noticing maybe, or came into my awareness maybe 15 years ago or so. And as many people may know, we have what's called a higher self. That's our higher aspect of our soul that remains on the other side. That's kind of our wise self that we want to tap into, the one that's all knowing, the all knowing part of ourselves that stays in spirit. Well, what I found fascinating, and just roll with me for those of you that are going, what is she talking about? Is that when the animal transitions, it's your soul that's first greeting them. Your soul and anyone that you've called in. Frequently I'll say, well, I see so and so and so and so, and they go, I called them in, or the other animals on the other side. Anyone you call in is there. You can count on that. They are there. They are there. But I think it's really fascinating to know that you'll be there for them too. That wise part of yourself. What else here? I would say that sometimes the soul will pass through the person when they're clearing, when they're moving back to spirit. And that's an important thing. When I often hear people say they got tingles or they felt a little whoosh of light. And then there's another what I call a heart fusion, where the animal can, when they leave their body, they can go through your body. And then sometimes they'll pause at the heart where there's this miraculous feeling of knowing and love. And usually the tears are falling. And so often people will say, well, I don't know for sure if it was them. And trust me, it was them. If you felt those little tingles, anything like that when they're passing, that's them saying thank you. Yeah.
Okay, this is neat stuff because most people probably haven't heard about this before. It's when we're talking about and you're sort of focusing on the soul and what does it do, right?
Yes. Yeah.
And I'm sure you got some really neat stories or examples on or in because you've had this chance of observing this so much.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
so tell me
Well,
about one.
yeah, I think I'll share first a story about Roscoe and Jim to kind of show you how things are divinely orchestrated in this hour, in this final hour with your animal. And there was a gentleman who called me from the vet. He was someone that I knew. He was on the board of a nonprofit that I donate sessions to. And he called me and he was more emotional. I've never heard him be emotional in all the years. And he said he was at the vet with his dog Roscoe, and he was trying to make that decision. His sense was that it was time. And then his question to me was, does the animal want to be at home, or does the animal want to do it in the vet's office? And so I definitely, did the caveat up front that, first and foremost, he would know what his animal wants more than anyone else. Secondly, I have seen more than not that the animal wants to be home on their turf, if at all possible. And then I was in between clients and hung up, and I was booked solid. And then he texted back later and he said, I'm going to take Roscoe home. And I'm wondering whether or not you could fit me in for like a 4 o'clock session. The vet's coming to the house now at 5. And I was like, I can't. And then all of a sudden, a minute later, I get a text from my 4 o'clock that says, I need to cancel. and so I'm like, oh my gosh. And I texted him back. I'm like, 4 o'clock it is. And when I, so there, so Jim's concept was that he wanted family time. He has two younger children, did not want them to be present for the actual euthanasia, and wanted them to be around Roscoe. And while I was facilitating the remote session, they were going to be sharing stories and holding him and just telling him how much, appreciated and loved he was. And they were crying. And so I hang up when I facilitate. I talk in the beginning, then I hang up and facilitate. Well, I'm connected to Roscoe, and all of a sudden, I feel all of those things that I mentioned earlier happening. The crown chakra is getting cleared. The heart cords are getting purified, clearing his energy, writing the energy for things that he was carrying for his family energetically. They were carrying for him. And then all of a sudden, I'm getting ready to stop and disconnect. And then I'm like, no, don't. And then I feel him start to lift out of his body. Oh, it's a kitty. And then all of a sudden, Roscoe transitions to the light. And I see him move forward with so much. He even stopped and gave me thanks. And I just texted them afterwards and I said, just call me when you can talk. And he called a bit later and said, so I guess you know. And I said, yeah. And he said, it was the most tender, most beautiful moment that our family could witness together. Roscoe had orchestrated, I think, his soul, this entire thing beautifully so that he could do the gentle release and be with his family. And then Jim's children learned that death is a part of life, and they didn't have to fear that or anything around that. So it was a story that I'll always remember for how it came together and how I believe Roscoe coordinated it all to teach his family to have less fear around the process.
Mhm. Yeah. Yeah, and that's the key. Animals aren't scared of end of life.
Right.
They're not worried about it. Whereas in people land, it's yeah, a lot of people cannot handle or don't want to deal with death.
Right.
And that's of their own kind, as in other people or of their pets, you know. And but the having a situation like that is so gratifying that yeah, their dog said, "Yeah, I'm going to make this really nice, guys, you know. So party
Yeah.
on, let's have fun."
Yes, yes, and they got to share that beautiful heart-opening moment together. I love that story because it really teaches us much.
Yeah. So well, most people think of death as a finality. And that is it's oh they're gone. And I always think of the Klingons in Star Trek. When a Klingon dies, the body that at that point means nothing because their soul has elevated and gone on to they have names for where they go, you know. So it's kind of neat that way. So are dogs and cats Klingons? Does the soul move on and does it continue its journey on or its contract and what it's doing?
Oh, yes, of course. They're part of our extended soul family. Yes. Yeah, I'll get really woo-woo on you and say that we have these beautiful souls that as they move to the other side, they will continue working with us, or they will even maybe come back to us later because we tend to partner with the same souls repeatedly because it's easier to recognize each other, it's easier to trust each other and to go deeper into what we came to do in our bodies. Yeah.
Okay. Okay. So they are mini Klingons.
They are
That's
mini
great.
crayons.
That's how I could put all this. I put the Star Trek Hocus Pocus into this stuff, you know, so it works that way, which is great. So you talked about this family that did this with you. They went through the journey with you, and it was very nice for them. So how can for our viewers, if they're facing this is coming up sometime, whenever. How can they make that their journey better in that process?
Oh goodness. Well, I really want to, I'd love to give guidance on this because I think that how you prepare for that time is going to be how you navigate those waters with greater ease and less fear. And so you want to first, in my mind, plan out what you would do in that situation so that you don't have to be in the middle of that moment and think, I don't know what to do. Try to sort through that. Know the different vets that you can call. Know, if you're going to prepare an altar. Know if you're going to light a candle. Know if you're going to write a poem. Whatever it is that you need to feel better through that time. But most importantly, I would say that it's important to lean into whatever emotions are coming up for you through that process. And this is really important for your listeners to hear because what we do as people is when we get scared, we get in our head and we go to what I call crazy fix it island. And all we are just full of how can I fix this? How can I fix them? How can I fix the situation? I don't want them to suffer. I'm in fear, so I'm trying to control it, and I'm trying to do all of this stuff so that I don't have to be with my emotions that are coming up right now. And when you are able to sink into loving what emotions arise, be it anger, be it fear, be it sadness, grief, pre-grieve. I tell people all the time, just start releasing the emotions because once you free them, that's when you can stay more in your adult during that time. You're human, so of course you're going to do the best that you can, but you want to really lean into what emotions are coming up and allow them to release. So good self-care during this final chapter is imperative for you being able to honor their passing and stay in the moment and know that it won't be too much for you because you'll be more in your adult, you'll be more connected by this beautiful connection you have with your animal to guide you through that time with greater ease and more joy so that you can thank them, so that you can be present, you can cry through it. that's okay. But just pushing them down and trying to get into, well, let me try one more herb or let me try one more of this. And I'm not saying not to do that. I'm saying there's got to be a good balance of bringing in heart energy. Your animal loves you unconditionally, no matter what choice you make for its care. It's going to be there for you. So you really want to console and nurture your inner child, the one that's hurting. And when you can do this and be present for your beloved animal in the moment, it's going to be a game changer for you. I see this happen repeatedly. And whenever I tell people, start grieving now and just release the emotions, hug yourself through it, go for a walk, meditate, take the bath, then you're going to be able to get what their guidance is more clearly. Because that's the biggest thing. We don't want to make a mistake. We call people when we want them to tell us what to do. And it will be a great growth opportunity for you to lean into that connection because no one knows your animal better than you do. And this is the most important decision if you're set with making a decision on whether or not to help them transition that you will ever make. So you want it to be coming from a place of your heart connection with your animal. And know that even if there's a sudden loss and they're younger or these are more difficult, right? The unexpected losses or when they're a young age, those soul contracts are still in place, meaning that was still divinely orchestrated.
Mhm.
And you are going to, in knowing that you are going to make it through this and more. And just leaning it sometimes when we are grieving and it feels overwhelming and say, I can't deal with this, it's because we haven't grieved the animals in the past or someone else in the past that we lost because it's still stuck in there. So now it's like, oh no, this is happening again. It's going to be too much for me. Your psyche unconsciously is thinking that. So I'm just encouraging the people to really lean into what emotions they have and do the best they can. It's not going to be perfect. Your animals don't want you to be perfect. They love you just the way that you are. And as you've mentioned, Jeff, they don't fear death. They fear you not being ready. And sometimes there might be another, all of a sudden your animal's ready because you brought in another younger animal, or all of a sudden you met the man or woman of your dreams and they're moving in, and all of a sudden, your older animal, it says, it develops these things that they're ready to go. And it's not because you did the wrong thing and got the young animal or fell in love and brought them into the house. It's because now your animal knows, oh, okay, she or he is ready now. They've got support. It's time for me to go. And all of those things are divinely orchestrated. It's quite beautiful.
Yeah, yeah, and getting that new puppy or dog or whatever, it can give them permission that, oh, mom's got a new dog.
Yeah,
I'm done. I can leave.
right.
But more often, what happens is the old dog suddenly comes to life, and you get them for another 2 years. So
That can happen too. Yeah, yeah, I love that.
it goes both ways, right?
Yes, it does. It doesn't necessarily mean when you get a young one, they're going to pass. But if that does happen, know that I want the people to know that it's not because they caused that in any way. So I don't want them to do any self-condemning thoughts about that.
Yeah, yeah. The people are very good at inventing ways to put guilt on themselves.
Yes, and enough
And
already with
oh
that.
yeah, yeah. And it's just like, oh, I got a new dog, so he didn't figure he was needed anymore, so he got sick and left, or I mean, and one thing I do want to point out with this is that when you have an animal that is in the process of passing. One thing that, like you say, they may have the contract with you that, hey, I'm going to look after mom, forever. And then as they're starting to get sick and such, mom's going into her world where she's worried about it. It's scary and she doesn't want to lose her friend. And because of that, they don't have the dog, cat, Budgie, doesn't have permission to leave.
Mm.
Right. And I've seen this at play in the world I'm in, and also with the human world that I'm in as well. And that is, hey, you're I don't need you. anymore. And that doesn't mean to belittle them. It's just that, hey, I can do it without you, and you have permission to go.
Yeah, I'll be fine. Do what you do, you. Yeah.
Yeah. And just saying that, I've seen that said so many times, and the person actually, or the animal that's passing, finally said, "Okay, I can move on."
Yeah. That's a beautiful point.
Yeah. So, any final thoughts on this, Tammy?
Well, I would say that again, it's imperative for people to love themselves through this process because that's what would your animal wants for you. Your animal wants you to love yourself and look in the mirror and see what they see in you. And so the more you can come from your adult loving self, the easier it will be to navigate this end of their life and still of course have moments of fear and anger and pain, but you'll be able to show up for them in a way that will be wonderful growth for your soul to step into that place of adulting. And that doesn't mean detaching from your emotions, that means living through those as well and knowing that you'll be fine and even better for it.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, it's and because it can be a learning process for you, and also it's something that is going to happen. Let's try and make it the best it can be.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Absolutely. It can
yeah,
be a beautiful time if you allow that, if you intend for that. It can be a beautiful, heart opening time that will be a wonderful memory, like Jim and Roscoe.
yeah, yeah. And I've got several other speakers in this conference that have talked about what you can do at that moment. And I'm
Mhm.
sure that as hopefully you as a viewer has been looking at the other ones as well, thinking that's something that makes sense to me. Something will attract you to it. And it may be what Tammy is saying, and that is, hey, why don't I follow up on that? Which leads us to, you've got a way for people to work on this, don't you, Tammy?
Thank you so much for asking, Dr. Jeff. Yes, I have several free gifts I couldn't choose that are on my website page. And so the first one is about connecting to the spirit of your animal. It's going to be written out, and then you can also do a video. And then I also have a wonderful video that's called Gratitude to Animals that just helps you sink into this space of opening your heart and sending gratitude to all the animals that have meant such a difference in your life. And the third is a four-step proprietary that an emotional release technique that I created called Wish. And you'll be able to download that emotional release technique to help you to move out some of these emotions as you go through this time with them.
Great. Okay. So it sounds like a great way for people to get into this and figure out how it can help them through this process. So thank you, Tammy.
You're
Okay.
very welcome. Thank you.
Okay. So thank you, Tammy, and thank you everyone for watching. And hopefully you've just got a little bit of an idea on, hey, soul contracts, what are we doing? But the key is, how can we make the last moments better for our friends and for us? I want it to be this is goal of the conference. I want it to be the best experience you've had so that you don't remember it as a bad time in the past. So that's where we're going. Okay, so thank you for watching, and we'll catch you in the next webinar.